Hi, I'm Glenn Whipp with the Los Angeles Times. The Big Bang Theory just wrapped up a season. It's 8th, right? Join us from the show, Mayim Bialik. Welcome.
Thank you.
We have a lot of questions. And it's funny because like somebody just tweeted, they just watched the season finale in the United Kingdom.
Right.
So I feel like we're now safe. Enough time has gone by where we can talk season finale. But, you know, if you haven't seen it.
It's huge spoiler alert coming up in this
spoiler alert.
Couple minutes, yeah.
So pausing, okay. He had a ring. Sheldon
I didn't know that.
A ring.
only the American, well, and UK public now, and everyone in between knows that. Yeah, that was a shocker for me, just as a person reading the script.
Right.
And I've only known about the show since I've been on it. I didn't watch it before. So for Sheldon's character, that's huge.
That is huge. And maybe it explains why he kept asking about picking a date earlier.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very
right?
good. Yeah. I mean, I think that the neat thing about what our writers do, and Steve Milaro in particular, who's our showrunner and executive producer, he's very careful with how much information to dole out at a time. And, you know, Chuck Lorre has said that, you know, watching our shows like watching paint dry. You know, not a tremendous amount needs to happen. It's usually baby steps, you know, for all these things. So the fact is, we don't really know what the story is with that ring. And I think that's something I had to remember as an actor. You know, we don't know what he was planning on doing with it. We don't know if it was something he got from his mother. We don't know what the process was by which he acquired that and what he would think to do with it. So I think there's still, you know, people want to jump to all sorts of conclusions because it's super exciting to do so, and they love these characters and they know them. But I think that's the neat thing about our show, and especially my character, and I think Jim and my character's relationship, anything really can happen. And I think the finale was, we think, proof of that.
So you're really saying only Gollum knows, right?
Well, that's always true. Only Gollum knows.
Yeah, that applies to every area of life. But I mean, you must have a thought.
No, I really don't. I mean, that's, to me, like my job is to get a script and to do my best to make it right. Okay. Whether that's funny or meaningful or poignant. If I were a writer, I would have lots of ideas of what I would write, but it's not my job. And, right. And I'm grateful for that. You know, writing is a really difficult job. And by comparison, I'd rather be an actor, you know, because you take someone else's material and your job is to, you know, to perform it. But I don't know what decisions my character should make at all. I didn't even see this coming, you know, by a mile.
I mean, when you're reading that finale script, I mean, and even then you get to the point where we need some time.
Right.
And then after that, then another bombshell drops.
Sure.
So that must have been interesting.
Yeah, it's like a double gasp scene, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of a double gasp. Yeah, and I think, you know, for us, even as actors, the rest of the cast too, when we read that at the table read, it's a real moment. And I just think, you know, Jim Parsons' eloquence and his elegance as an actor, you know, came across. It's such a beautiful moment. You know, if you watch him processing the conversation with Amy that's happening, and then that moment, you know, of deflation, and then he really just kind of like he opens up a whole other world when it looks like one has just closed, you know, and that's Jim Parsons, that's his genius.
But you're coming back for season 9.
Oh well, I'm contracted, you know. They can pay me. They can pay me to sit on the sidelines. I'll do that too, you know. It's a great thing to watch. Yeah, I mean, I think that the neat thing about our show, these relationships are so fleshed out, you know, and so intricate that I also feel like they're not reliant on the labels of our relationship either. And I literally say that knowing absolutely nothing about what next season looks like. I don't want to know. I don't know that our writers know yet. But my feeling is, you know, even with, I think the Leonard and Penny plot for years has shown us that it really is about the relationship of human beings and not about the relationship label and what it's doing and where it's going. We still don't know about that relationship either. And I think that's a great thing that our writers did, to use Sheldon's journey through trying to understand other people's relationships. It kind of all culminated with this ring, right?
Yeah.
He's asking, well, why is it taking so much time? Well, why don't you move in together? Why don't you sleep together? I don't want her to, you know, like all these things. That's him working out other people's relationships because he doesn't know how to work it out for himself, you know?
Do you know whether Sheldon should start watching The Flash or not? Can you answer that?
If I had to answer, absolutely, yes.
I mean, that
would bring him a lot of joy.
Adding a new series, that's a big commitment.
It is a big commitment. I haven't made my own decision yet, so.
You're still on the fence.
Still depends.
What did you think about the way that scene played out? It was done via like a Skype. I don't know which, if it was
we
Skype or
Skype
whatever.
on set. We actually used the appropriate technology for all of that stuff. It's kind of a neat thing about our show.
So how'd you like doing that scene on Skype rather than in person?
Felt completely appropriate for our characters. You know, I think that's something that people ask a lot about, is some of the stereotyping of our characters or the pathologizing of our characters. And in particular, this relationship is really special. It's special to me and Jim, and it's special to all of our writers. You know, this is a non-sexual but very legitimate, intimate, romantic relationship with two people who simply don't have the skills to operate the way other people think they should. But they have found another person for whom that's okay. And I think that's really, if we were a different kind of show or another show, there might be a whole conversation. How could she do that over Skype, right?
Right.
It never even entered my mind that that's something to do in person. Because for these characters, it's a completely feasible method of communication, not because they're 20 years old, right? Because a lot of young people, you know, see technology as sort of an extension of themselves that way. But people our age, you know, and the age of our characters on the show, typically you don't do that over Skype. But
that would be a faux pas.
It would be a faux pas. But I think for Amy and Sheldon, like, they operate by different rules. And even if Amy wants different rules, she loves and respects Sheldon enough that she's not trying to change him. That's why when people say, like, is this a stereotype of a syndrome? No, it's just her being in a relationship with someone who lives by different rules, and he's in a relationship with someone who lives by different rules. And to me, that's more significant than, you know, how many times have you had sex with someone, you know, as a TV character.
We have a lot lot questions from readers. We're going to talk about this before. But
I hope I have enough answers.
I'm sure you do. One of them was somebody wanting to know, I mean, this was obviously a big moment. Did you have a favorite moment or episode from season 8? Is there an episode that stands out for you?
Truth be told, like, I don't really remember what we've done season to season. You know, people will bring up episodes, and this is something Jim and I always talk about. We'll say, what was that this year? Was that 2 years? Like, my job is to do the episode, but not to keep a running catalog, right, of a season. Or I don't watch the episodes when they air. So for me, like, my job's to perform them, and then I move on to the next week, you know. I know that the I Love You scene was this year. I seem to remember that. The turtle episode was this year, but, like, other than that, I don't really remember. I mean, I know the other things happened. I'm sure they were important.
When do you watch the episodes? Or
I don't.
You don't?
No.
You never have gone back and watched?
No. No, sometimes, like, before we tape an episode, they will show the audience the previous week's episode that we filmed. Sometimes I'll catch bits of it, like, in between getting dressed and going to hair and makeup touch-ups, but no.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm told it's a very good show.
I hear. Yeah. Millions agree with that assessment. Tracy Wyatt wants to know that she was one who tipped me off that the show just aired in the UK, the finale.
Right.
What do you think has to happen to get Sheldon and Amy back together? From Amy's standpoint.
I haven't thought of it. You know, I actually don't even know that there is something that has to happen. I think that, you know, people have been calling this, like, the breakup episode, but what Amy really asked for, you know, euphemistically, is time off to think.
A break, not a breakup.
Well, I believe it was, you know, take a step back and really think. And to me, that really leaves so many possibilities open. I don't know that I have in my mind the normal, you know, socially constructed notions of what Sheldon needs to do to make her happy. But these characters have never lived by those rules. You know, Amy's really kind of ridden this out. And I think we hit a point where, for a lot of reasons, she hit a limit, but I don't know what that necessarily means.
Yeah. I mean, it's 5 years.
She may not know.
Yeah.
And she may not know either. I don't think it's about sex. I mean, I hope it's not.
We have a question from, I believe, Cerise, who's wondering, there was an episode where Amy's fan fiction came out.
Right.
Did you know about fan fiction much, she wonders, before this whole?
No, I don't know that I really know about it now either.
Yeah. Well, you know.
No, I knew a little bit about it. But yeah, I mean, I think I think it was so specific, for that episode and so sweet. I mean, Jim and I have a great time with anything really outside of our normal character's behavior, whether that's a hug because we've never had one on screen or that kind of thing, which is so different. But yeah, that was a great episode all around. That was where we each revealed embarrassing things about each other. And I thought that was really funny.
Did you grow up watching Little House on the Prairie? Or?
I was born in 1975. And so I wasn't, it was like right on the cusp. I remember it looked, it looked boring compared to like Three's Company and, Alice, like the
Love Boat.
It was Love Boat and Fantasy Island and I Love Lucy. I liked a different kind of show in those years. So yeah.
There were bad things happening pretty much every week. There's somebody.
Right. I thought you meant on Three's Company because that also was rough going.
Pratfalls, yeah.
Yeah.
These were like fires and people.
Yeah,
dying.
no, even MASH scared me because it looked too serious.
Yeah. Let's see. Here's a question. Beaches related. Now that Beaches is headed to Broadway, would you consider auditioning for the adult CC Blue?
I don't think I'm old enough.
Little makeup,
yeah, or less makeup. I think just given my, I have two little boys. They're almost 7 and almost 10. Given my life and the lifestyle that Broadway entails,
crazy.
I saw Jim in his play, and I hope to see Kunal in his play. That's a very different life, and also I'm used to doing something different every week, and the notion of doing the same thing every night for an extended period of time, it's just that's what marriage is for. Sorry.
We have a question from moving on to a different subject. Caroline G wants to know, she thinks it's awesome that you have your PhD in neuroscience. Is it true that you sometimes correct the writers on science? Are you like that?
I don't. It's funny. I mean,
fact checker.
No. With this little thing called the internet, pretty much everything that needs to be used for an episode of Big Bang Theory can be found online. Many of our writers have science backgrounds or are coupled with people in their personal lives who have science backgrounds. There are times when sometimes I'll get asked, like in Amy's lab in particular, we have 4 scenes and we need her doing something, neurobiology related. Can you, figure that out? Right. So yes, I can say like, oh, sure, I'll do this, I'll do that. Sometimes I'll get funny emails, but once in a very blue moon, from one of our writers or producers saying like, which part of the brain would be affected if we, need this? But pretty much everything is searchable and Googleable. And Dr. David Salzberg is our physics consultant. He's a professor at UCLA, right. And he has a lot of general science knowledge. So, we end up figuring it out, but it's mostly our writers.
Do you think you would ever want to return to academia to teach?
I think at this point I'm a distraction, possibly not in a great way. I taught, after I got my degree, I had just had my second son. I taught neuroscience and biology and chemistry to junior high and high schoolers in the homeschool community here in Los Angeles. That felt fine for a time. But, once you don't do a postdoc right after a postdoctoral position, research position right after your PhD, your degree very quickly is not worth the same, meaning if you're not going to conferences and you're not staying up on literature and stuff like that. So, I think there are a lot of things I can do, and I do a lot of kind of STEM advocacy and things like that to promote the beauty of science and especially women in science. But I think my life as an academic, maybe a thing of the past.
Yeah. Have you talked about how you trust the writers and what they're going to do with your character. Have you ever found yourself disagreeing about something writers wrote for your character?
Not really. I mean, it's really theirs to do what they will with, and so there are things that I might not have thought I would have done, but it is theirs to do what they will. Sometimes there's wording, but usually it's just like a small oversight. Like Sheldon and Amy rarely say things like, hey, what's up? So we try and...
they keep that language very precise.
Well, and I think that's something that, as actors, we get to know our character and say, oh, I'd prefer to say hi, things like that instead of hey.
Any plan? You mentioned earlier about how, writing is harder than
Sure.
But you've written a book. Do you have any plans? A lot of readers want to know, are you going to follow that up? Do you have any plans?
Well, I've written 2 books. I wrote a book on parenting called Beyond the Slang about our experience with attachment parenting. And then I wrote a cookbook, which is different, but there actually is a lot of, text as well. I write for a website, Feller. I do a lot of other writing. It's different kind of writing. I think script writing is totally different. But yeah, I have many possible projects for writing. Just trying to figure out what to do next.
So like a vegan cookbook, is that?
Yeah, I wrote a vegan cookbook called Mayim's Table. Yeah, Mayim's Table.
Mm-hmm. What's the go-to recipe?
Well, it really depends, it depends if you're a familiar vegan or a not familiar vegan.
I have no idea.
I mean, like for people who are experienced vegans.
I pronounced it vegan, so that's
some people do pronounce it that way.
On.
No, I mean, there's a lot of things in the cookbook for people who are just trying to incorporate more fruits, vegetables, and grains into their diet. And then there's things like, vegan jelly donuts, which are more labor intensive. But if you are a vegan person who hasn't had a proper donut in many years, you will do the things that it takes to get that donut to happen. So.
I'm going to look that up.
There you go.
Look that up after we're done. So another reader wants to know, who is the biggest joker on the set? Do you have somebody whose reputation?
We don't have like a prankstery set. Simon Helberg, who plays Wallowitz, is one of the most talented mimics and comedians. If you've never Googled Simon Helberg doing impressions on, I think, Conan or something, it's remarkable. So he's the person who kind of makes us laugh. He's just like, he has such a dry but really, really smart, witty sense of humor. Melissa Rauch is also wicked funny. Kunal's sort of the most lighthearted, and always kind of can cheer people up, if there's down moments or rough moments. So, but Simon is the one who really, I'm his biggest fan. That's what I say.
You guys, so you're contracted for one more season? Two more, the whole cast. So you're good for at least 10.
I'm good for at least season 10.
And see what happens after that.
Yeah, I mean,
how do you feel like this? I mean, you came on season
end of 3, but was made a regular in 4.
Okay, so how do you feel now about continuing?
I've got nothing else to do, so happy to keep doing this for as long as they would like to have me. This is the best job I've ever had, besides being a mom, but that's like a totally different,
Right.
Yeah, there's no better job than being on this show, and not because it's the #1 comedy in America. Like, this is an amazing gig to get paid a ridiculous amount of money to play dress up and to get to use the art of writers, right, who are immensely talented, and then get the credit. Like, it's crazy. Like, I get to take, their words and play with them on stage. Like, that's, it's every child's dream, it's just to play.
And the writers still seem to be coming up with a lot of good, fresh ideas.
Like I mean, go to a fan page and you'll hear, every opinion in between. But I think our writers are awesome. I think, I think what people don't realize, there's a bit of all of our characters in our writers. And if you were to meet our writers, you would see bits of each character in them. Like, that's their experiences and their perspective. And they put them on these 7 people, that you get to watch every week. So
there's an Amy somewhere.
There's parts of Amy. There are male writers on our staff that have a lot of Amy in them. There's a lot of all of us. I have an image in my head also of who the women I have in my head who I think of when I think of Amy. But yeah, she's a lot of Bill Prady, We
have a question from a reader wondering, they'd like to see you in a superhero film.
I would like to see me in a superhero film. Did I send that in?
No. If you had to pick one franchise.
X-Men.
Yeah. How come?
It's sort of the broadest palette and has the most flexibility for non-traditional females. The thing that you find in a lot of, kind of classic comic book and classic Marvel stuff is a very kind of specific, lead female.
Right.
And, I'd be happy to play that lead female. I've been confused for Scarlett Johansson more than twice just today. That was a joke. No, but I think X-Men has the most kind of variability, for kind of anything goes in terms of physicality and physical appearance and presence and stuff like that.
You have a favorite X-Men?
Michael Fassbender, does that count?
Yeah, he's got the qualities.
Yeah,
that you're
a lot of qualities that I'm looking for.
Well, thank you very much for dropping by.
Thank you.
It's been great talking to you.
Thank you so much.
And for more of these conversations, please go to latimes.com. Thanks for watching.